This is Inside Town Hall, a behind-the-scenes look at city government and the issues affecting you and your family.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Inside Town Hall. I'm your host, Madeline Shields. Coming up in the program, we learn about a new tool available to Minnehaha County judges that will help them determine a defendant's risk. We'll have those stories and much more when we return.
Hi, my name is Dr. Laura Holbert with Falls Community Health. For many of us, staying active during the winter months becomes a challenge. For some, outdoor activities such as shoveling snow or taking your dog for a walk can burn some extra calories. But for those who prefer to avoid the outdoors, there are still plenty of excellent options to stay fit, such as finding an indoor place to walk. Try a workout DVD or light weights if you prefer not to leave the house, and take the stairs whenever you can. Please discuss any workout program with your doctor prior to starting.
Minnehaha County judges have a new tool that can help them assess a defendant's risk. Here to talk about this is City Councilor Christine Erickson, and her guest is Minnehaha County Commissioner Cindy Heiberger. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's talk about what is the pretrial public assessment tool.
You know, I got involved really back when I was in the legislature, and we were talking about public safety and how to be smarter on crime and making sure that we're not just locking those up that we're mad at, but actually those that are dangerous and a risk to the community. And so going through that process, I was asked to sit on this task force, if you will, this group that was comprised of all kinds of stakeholders, from judges to police officers, me as city councilor as well as a county commissioner, and I mean, you name it, there was representation on this group of people to talk about what does this mean and what does it mean for our community. As you see, our jails are bursting at the seams. How can we make a difference in making sure, again, that we're locking those up that are dangerous and not that we're just mad at? And so I was involved in this group, and Cindy can maybe give a little history of how we got here today.
Okay, so I think most people are aware that the jail has been an issue in looking at expansion of the jail is coming in the near future. But we're also looking at ways to put the right people in jail, but our main concern is keeping the public safe. And so Minnehaha County has continued to look for different ways that we can move out the people that don't belong in jail, but put the right people there and still make sure that the public safety is there. We have other opportunities that we use. The 24/7 program is one that the judges already can assign a person to if they are a low-level offender, so that they're monitored by the sheriff's office and make sure that we know where they are and what they're doing, and are they staying off their drugs or alcohol. We also have Veterans Court, and we have a drug and alcohol court. And so this will be another tool in the toolbox for the judges, where they can have this person assessed before they come to see the judge, and the judge can look at that sheet and say, yep, this person is high risk or this person is low risk. And it just gives them one more option to look at. They don't have to use that tool, but it might be helpful in their decision as to what to do with this person that has been arrested.
How do you get this information? I know that there is some kind of an agreement with the Arnold Foundation and the local court system. Explain a little bit about what the Arnold Foundation is and what they do.
Well, the Arnold Foundation is a group that did a very extensive research. They tested over 1.5 million cases, over 300 cities and communities. So it's really evidence-based. It works. They weren't going to just implement or offer a tool that we hope works. There's actually evidence behind that this is an option that works. And so when this group came together, the application was written to see if this is something, one, it's going to take some more resources to do. And so is there going to be a payoff with having another county, a county member, employee, running the data and providing the data to the judges, and there's also some technology that needs to go in place as well. And so making sure that made sense financially to do, and the application was written, and the Arnold Foundation did select Minnehaha County as well as Pennington County, which is a great, across the state, it has an impact. And our hope is after this is successful, that other communities will then mock what we do, and it will be a statewide tool that the state of South Dakota can hopefully use as we move forward.
And the Arnold Foundation pays for this, is that true?
The Arnold Foundation pays for the technical support, so they provided the tool, which you cannot get the tool unless you have been selected by the Arnold Foundation. So they're giving us the tool, and then they're giving us the technical support to teach us how to use it, and they will help us through this first year of implementation to make sure that we're following the model correctly.
So, for instance, let's just kind of put this in a world scenario, a real world scenario. So someone gets arrested. They ultimately will probably be housed in the Minnehaha County Jail. They have to go before the court, and then what happens? They meet with the judge the first time.
So what happens, there's a lot of moving parts behind the scenes that happen when someone is arrested and this tool is implemented. There's 9 different factors that the assessment is done. So someone behind the scenes will be implementing typing in all the data. Those assessments, the factors are whether the offense is violent or not, whether the person had a pending charge at the time of the current offense, whether the person has a prior misdemeanor conviction, whether the person has a prior felony, the person's age, any prior convictions for violent crimes, how many times the person failed to appear at a pretrial hearing in the last 2 years. And I think that one's really interesting and important too, because do you have a flight risk? Are you going to skip court, or are you going to show up? Whether the person failed to appear at pretrial hearing more than 2 years ago, and whether the person has previously been sentenced to incarceration. So those are the 9 general factors that are non-negotiable, and so that information is collected for that person that was arrested, and based on that, when they go in front of the judge, they are assessed a number, I believe is what it is, and that judge has the opportunity to use it or not use it. It is a tool that they may use. It's not a mandated one, but certainly with the evidence showing that it works, why not use it? But sometimes there's other factors that go into play.
Sure. So Cindy, tell me, when the judge has this information sitting in front of them and the defendant is in the courtroom, what does it decide? What does it help the judge decide?
Well, the number, it goes from a low, starting at 1, and I don't know if the top number is, I don't remember, 12. I don't remember what the top number is, but each number, so the lower you are, the less risk you are. So if you're a 1 or a 2, you don't need to be housed at all. Okay. You could be released on your own recognizance that, you know, this person is not a flight risk, they're going to show up and they're not going to reoffend. If they're in the middle of the graph, okay, this person is safe to be in the community, but needs to be monitored. So then we might use our 24/7 program, or we might use one of the drug court options, or as we expand, hopefully we will have more options that can be used for alternatives to detention for these people who have been arrested. So there's a center pocket that these people just need monitored, but they don't need to be in jail. And then there's the last group, the highest number ones. Those ones definitely need to be in jail. Again, it's just a tool. It shows the judge, he can look at all other evidence and say, oh, you know, I think that even though this person is in the middle and he could be okay with alternatives, because of these other factors, I think I should keep him. So it's always up to the judge and ultimately in the end, but it gives him one more thing to look at to say, this is where this person screens at.
Okay. This was first looked at November 1st, or it was approved after much study. Have judges been using this so far?
No, we're just getting started with that. We've had some meetings, and actually this last Wednesday they met with the Arnold Foundation came in and met with the judges, and a large group of people in Pennington County was on the phone since we had a blizzard and listened in on what was going on, but they're just getting started. I'm not sure exactly when when they will start actually doing the assessment. We're going to have a staff member on staff so that they can be doing this behind the scenes. They use data on the computer, and they're not interviewing the person. So if you came in and you were arrested, I'm not going to go interview you. I'm going to use the data that's been collected, and so it's not what your opinion is, it's what the facts are.
Have you had any feedback from any of the judges about what they think about this program, and were they involved in the decision making to get it approved?
They were involved in the decision making process. I believe there were 3 or 4 judges that sat on that, as well as representation from the state's attorney office, as well as public defenders, like I said, police officers, as well as community members and elected officials. In this group, I believe there was a large group, and then we broke off into smaller groups as well, but I believe at times there was close to 20 people involved in this process, as well as the sheriff's office. It's really important to have all those that this impacts be involved with this process. You really need everyone's buy-in, and so it was a very collaborative process to be able to have every stakeholder have voice. Well, did you think about this? That's not how this works. In making sure that we all understand it. Now, obviously, the Arnold Foundation understands all those details, but we as a community, we as a county needed to have those conversations amongst ourselves and hope that we were selected. And it's been a great process. I've been involved with a few lunches with meeting with the folks of the Arnold Foundation, and they're really excited for our community and learning more about our community. It's not just a tool that they want to give us. They truly love seeing the results that come from this assessment tool because it does impact in a favorable way. And as the jail is bursting at the seams, unfortunately, we need to figure out who should be in those jail cells and not just the ones that made a bad decision over the weekend, maybe.
Right. Well, I did look up the Arnold Foundation online, and this is nothing new to them. There is a lot of research and expertise that goes into these assessment tools. Can you explain, how did you find out about the Arnold Foundation?
Well, a while back, the Minnehaha County had the Crime and Justice Institute come in and do an evaluation of the county and what could we do to help to lower our population safely. And they came back, and one of the recommendations was that we use a risk assessment instrument. So at that point, we started looking for a risk assessment tool that had been validated and that was successful. And the Arnold Foundation was one that rose to the top. And we applied for that grant, and we were successful. In applying for that grant, we had to get letters from the state of South Dakota, from the sheriff's office, from the court service offices, the judges, everyone. So everyone had to buy in. The Minnehaha County Commission, we had a huge amount of people that came together collaboratively, and I think the city might have even contributed to that packet that went to the Arnold Foundation and said, we're ready and we want to move forward. So, and then we were awarded finally.
How long has this process been going on? Did it start a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I would say probably a year and a half ago. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but I'd say about a year and a half ago we started on this. And like I mentioned earlier, we have done this on the juvenile side for about 5 years, so we kind of know what direction we wanted to go. Even though they're different, there's similarities in the process.
Crowding in the jail is nothing new. I mean, we've always looked for ways to ease crowding in the jail and the prison system. Can you talk a little bit about what are the benefits for the individual if they are not housed in the jail?
If they have a low flight risk, so say they score a 1 and made a poor decision and they're not a danger to the community, housing them in jail offers a lot more consequences that come along with it, from if you have children at home, if you have a spouse at home, and even a job. You might be in jail 2 to 3 days, and missing 2 to 3 days of work might mean that you're losing your job, which then impacts your family, then impacts the county if you need additional services. And so if we can keep people working and keep them on the right track to get them back into the community and making those good decisions, I think that's very important.
Statistics also have shown that putting the wrong person in jail can actually increase their chance of reoffending or recidivism, ending it back up in jail. And so you want to keep the low-level offenders out while keeping your public safe. That is the number one goal, is keep your public safe. And with the risk assessment instrument, they're looking to see, is this person possibly could reoffend, or will they not? Are they a flight risk? They won't show up. Those are the two main factors of the risk assessment instrument, is to make sure that you're safe in the community and that you will show up for court.
Okay, well, we appreciate this information, and as time goes on and as the judges begin to use this tool, we'd love to have you back on Inside Town Hall to hear about how it's going in the future.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, thank you for being here. We will be back in just a moment. Up next, we're going to talk with Christine Erickson about the Freedom Pass and Bishop Dudley Hospitality House. We'll be back in just a moment.
Cleaning sidewalks after a snowstorm helps ensure the safety and mobility of our entire community. This is important especially for senior citizens and people with disabilities. What's inconvenient to you might be dangerous or even life-threatening to them. Be sure to shovel your sidewalk edge to edge, and if your property has a curb ramp, be sure to clear that entirely as well. Residents and businesses alike must clear their sidewalks within 48 hours after the end of a snowfall or face possible citations. Do your part to keep Sioux Falls safe.
Welcome back. We are continuing our discussion with City Councilor Christine Erickson. Let's move on to the Summer Youth Bus Program. It's called the Freedom Pass. That is through Sioux Area Metro. The city children in the City of Sioux Falls can ride for free. Let's talk a little bit about that.
So this was an initiative brought forward with the City Council as a pilot program. We did it for 2 summers, really testing it. The first summer we did it so late that we really didn't get a good snapshot of the impact of it. And really the intent is to allow students to be able to move about the city, whether it's to a job, to the pools, to see their friends, to the library, and sometimes to get a free meal. Some of these children, it's maybe the only meal that they'll get during the day, and so they can take the bus system down to do that. So we decided after 2 pilot summers to implement it as a full-time program. My kids go to All City Elementary, and in All City we have a wing that's the immersion intake where any kids that are coming to America to go to school in Sioux Falls go through this program. And I just had the opportunity to talk to our director there about really the impact this has. And before they get into summertime, they sit down and they sign up a lot of these children to have access to move about the city. And it's really a great way to teach lifelong ridership, regardless if you're able to purchase a car down the road or if you're going to another, maybe you're going to Minneapolis and going to school and you need to learn how to use the bus system there. It's just giving you that next opportunity. The bus system's already working and it doesn't cost a whole lot of money. We're not losing a ton of money by doing something like this, and there's great benefit from it.
And it runs from June 1st to August 31st. You just have to have a school ID. It's all school-aged children.
Yes.
Ride for free.
Yep.
This excludes their parents. Their parents would have to purchase a monthly pass.
Yep, or a punch card.
Yeah,
yep.
if they want to go with them. You know, a lot of us don't ride the bus, and we didn't grow up riding the bus. Do you think this will get more children learning how to ride the bus system, and obviously helping the environment as we get older?
We really hope so, and there is a large population that ride the bus to school, that ride the transit system to school as well, and so creating that lifelong ridership and moving about the city. As Sioux Falls grows, if you go to the west side to the east side, it's almost 2 different communities because it's so different, and so giving people the access to move around the city is a big deal. It really is a big deal.
Well, I'm guilty. I don't ride the bus in Sioux Falls, but when I go on vacation, we always figure out how the bus system works.
Right,
and so let's move on to other transportation. When might we get Uber or Lyft in Sioux Falls?
It's been a hot topic, and I've been contacted by several people in regards to when are we going to get one of these transportation network companies, meaning Uber, Lyft, Sidecar, and it's in their hands. The City Council paved the way to allow them to operate within our community. The state of South Dakota did their job in paving the way to allow them to operate in our community. The only thing that stands in the way of them coming to our community really is getting a sales tax license. In South Dakota, we operate on sales tax. We don't have an income tax, and so that sales tax is key. And so for them to come, they need to get that sales tax license, and they're able to operate, which really is a great opportunity for events like that happen at the event center and things in our community to be able to take a ride to or from, and it's really convenient. We've used it when we've traveled, and it's really a convenient tool. Recently, there was a cab driver here in town, a business owner that did create his own app, and so it'll be interesting to see what the traction is with his business and if he gets more people using that app. I've not used that as well, but it's certainly another opportunity, and much like an Uber, a Lyft, Sidecar kind of type mentality, to be able to have the convenience from your phone.
So if you want that opportunity,
You need to lobby Uber and tell them to get your sales tax license so we can have you operate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on. The City Council approved a budget amendment in September to reinstate full funding for youth drug and alcohol counseling through Prairie View Prevention. Why is this so important?
You know, as we see drug and alcohol abuse really rising in our community as well as the state, meth is a big problem in the state of South Dakota. It's really an issue. And so for us as a council, we reinstated that because prevention's key. We don't want to just treat the problem. We want to prevent you from getting into that problem. And so if we can catch the youth during some of those really key decision-making opportunities to make sure that they don't go down that path, it's so important. So we started the process of saying, okay, this is important. We want to keep doing this, but how are we going to do it? Prairie View Prevention's done it for many years. I think that our community has changed. We're adding school districts. You know, we now have 6 school districts within Sioux Falls. It's not just the Sioux Falls School District. And so as things change, how does this program need to change, and how can we make it better to serve the youth in our community?
And so for someone to utilize Prairie View Prevention, is that free for them? And do they already have a history of maybe getting in trouble with alcohol or marijuana or something like that?
You know, there is an assessment. There's a couple different ways that they do it. Sometimes there's an assessment because you already are in trouble, and it's making sure you don't continue to get in trouble. The key with it is the Sioux Falls School District has partnered with us to giving us access to the students. Instead of saying, hey, at 4 o'clock when you're done, come on over to this other place and get this assessment. Instead, they want to go hang out with their friends and they may skip it. But if they can be in the school and have direct access to those students and accomplish what they need to accomplish, that's key right there as well. And so having that relationship is important as we move forward.
Okay. We're going to move on to talking about the Bishop Dudley Hospitality House. This is a homeless shelter that houses many people. You know, it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The City Council has increased their funding by $90,000. What's the total that they're helping with?
Well, the council decided to increase that funding because they are more than a warming house. Before, they were just a warming house, and we were only giving them about 3 months worth of funding. And now that they're a year-round facility and their numbers are skyrocketing as well, it was important to raise that level of funding for their day-to-day operations, for the impact that they're making in the community. Not too long ago, Chad with Bishop Dudley House had invited me to do the sleep out, where we slept out in a refrigerator box and cold, and just I knew in the morning I had somewhere to go, but knowing that a lot of those people that when they are sleeping outside or sleeping at the Bishop Dudley House, they don't know what tomorrow brings. And so for us, it was really important to be able to give back to their mission of what they're doing and making sure that they're helping people get to that next level and not just giving them a handout, but giving them a hand up and helping them. And they do so many more services than just a warm place to stay. Sure. They are making sure that people are looking for a job. They're making sure that people are getting the resources that they need to get.
And an average of 179 people stay there per day, about $2,500 per day it costs to operate the Bishop Dudley House. And
our what we give is a very small amount to what their mission is.
Okay. Sioux Falls citizens may get a National Citizen Survey in their mailbox. Explain what that is and why is it important for them to fill it out and send it back to their where it came from.
Yes, so we do this every couple of years. The citizens are randomly selected. If you are a city employee or an elected official with the City of Sioux Falls, you will be removed from that list, which makes sense. But this is, for what we form policy on, it's important to get that feedback. And, oftentimes there is benefit in asking the same questions over and over and over to see, are we doing better? Are we doing worse? What are the priorities priorities of the citizens of Sioux Falls. Oftentimes we see roads are still number one on there. People expect to have their roads taken care of and not have pothole season ruin their vehicles. And so that's a hot topic. Public safety has been moving up on the list as well, making sure that people feel safe as our community grows.
So about 3,000 people will get this National Citizen Survey in their mailbox. It is done independently. It's not done by anybody who lives in Sioux Falls.
Correct.
And there is an envelope that is included that you fill out the survey, you put it back in the envelope, and you mail it off.
Correct.
And then the City of Sioux Falls receives those results later?
We do receive those results later in a binder form, so to speak. It's shared with both the administration as well as the council. Costs us about $21,000 to do this every couple of years, and that historical information is, like I said, we use that to form policy around there. And some of the open-ended questions, we get some interesting remarks from there, but it's so important. So if you do get one of those surveys in the mail, please send it back, because we do take it into account.
Okay. And a lot of people ask, first off, why do you run for city council across the board? And when you have a lot of elected officials who are elected together, you're not always going to agree on things.
Correct.
And sometimes there are disagreements, and sometimes the mayor vetoes what decisions the city council has passed. Explain how that works.
So our form of government changed a while ago, where the mayor does serve as a member of the city council and gets to vote when there's a tie-breaking vote. And so because we have 8 council members, there's been times where people have thought, well, should we have another, so the mayor doesn't get to vote? That's not the rules. That's not the way it works right now. And so we do have a strong mayor type of government. And so we are 2 independent bodies, and we have different roles as council members of what my responsibilities are, as well as what the mayor and the administrative operations role in what we do. And so oftentimes they kind of run side by side, and one has to do something for the other has to approve. But ultimately at the end, the mayor does have the opportunity to not sign an ordinance that might come forward, or veto an ordinance that he or she deems unnecessary or not within what they want to see happen. And lately we've been seeing more of that, starting with the Freedom Pass. When we started that project, that went unsigned. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't go into law. It still goes, it just didn't maybe necessarily have the mayor's blessing.
Oh, besides the Freedom Pass, what are some of the other examples that the mayor has vetoed?
So another one that went unsigned was the Glory House. That first step in that action was one that did not receive the blessing as well. And we've seen 2 vetoes, which is not a very common thing that happens. Now, it is a tool. The administration building, when the new counselors came on, that was then vetoed and upheld by 3 additional counselors. And within his right and means, the last one that was recently vetoed was the Parks Board ordinance as well. And so it's certainly within the means of the mayor to do those types of things, but they can be overridden as well. And so as the council changes, and as we have 8 unique personalities and elected officials, it'll be interesting as time goes on. Will this continue to be the way it is, or will we maybe try to find some more common ground and try to work together and compromises so we can see the policies that the council wants to have happen to move forward, that we may be able to have the tools we need to do our job.
And so it just takes a majority vote for these to pass, is that correct?
For the ordinances,
Right.
it takes a majority vote, unless there's a few things that take a supermajority as well. But when we're talking about these ordinances, it just takes a majority, so it takes 5 council members. And then to uphold a mayor's veto, it takes 3 councilors to uphold that veto.
Okay, well, we covered a lot of ground
We
here
did.
at Inside Town Hall today. So, well, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
And if anyone wants to get a hold of you, how do they reach you if they have questions or comments?
We are on the city's website. You can reach any counselor. We have our phone numbers, our email addresses. So anytime you want, reach out, and we are happy to respond and work with you on an issue you may be having, or just sometimes it's often offering an ear to listen.
Okay, well, great. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. If you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, or if you just want the latest news and information on the City of Sioux Falls, go to siouxfalls.org. See you next month.